Well, everybody, this is Congressman Mark Alford coming to you from the swamp. We're actually at the White House. We're live this week. A special event with President Donald J. Trump at the White House talking about the one big, beautiful bill. Several dozen Congress members are here celebrating with the president, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And I want to give you a little bit of a flavor of what's going on. We are in the East Room, a very historic place in the East Room of the White House. You've seen it on television, but this is where the president chose to give his remarks tonight. I wanted you to listen to what the president of the United States had to say about the one big, beautiful bill. And here he is, the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
The House Republican majority has defied the odds to deliver win after win for the American people. They were giving us very small odds of doing this bill. In fact, we were originally breaking it up into 7, and then 6, and then about 3 and 2, and then ultimately we said 1, and I had it a little different name. I had one great, big, beautiful bill. But Steve said that's too much. That's a little too much. Let's take the word great out. But it is great. It was a little tougher to say, a little too long, but we took the word great out. But it is really one incredible situation that we passed. And people said that we'll do a number of bills and it'll be much easier. Typically, that's the way, except the problem was you had some where for the good of the country you had to do certain things, but it wouldn't necessarily mean you were going to get the votes. But you needed it for the good of the country. But the big, beautiful bill, the beauty is that it had something in it and a lot for everyone, including the people in this room that had a vote. So I think it was an incredible decision that we made pretty early on, right? We had a lot of people that were skeptical, Mike, about doing the one. They said it's just not possible to get it passed. And I think it actually turned out to be the biggest advantage because everybody had something in it. No matter who you were, you could go back and say, look what we got. Oh, well, that's okay. So it really worked out well. You passed the Lake and Riley Act. You passed the Halt Fentanyl Act. That's big stuff. You know, we are tariffing countries that are sending us fentanyl and working with fentanyl. And sadly, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars, but we don't want to take in billions for that. We want them to stop, and they will. With the help of our great First Lady, you passed the Take It Down Act. That's a big thing, and it was a bipartisan. That was very bipartisan. I think I'll ask her to get involved in more. Actually, it was like a real bipartisan, not where you had two. But you had a lot of Democrats vote for that one. That's a beautiful thing. The horrible things that take place on the internet, and they destroy children, and children do bad things to themselves, including, you know what, the word is suicide, and it really broke our heart to see it so often, so much. And take it down, we take it off the internet. They do things that are so bad. And it was a great thing that you did, bipartisan. On July 3rd, you passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, and that's going to go down, I think, as one of the most monumental achievements ever in congressional history. In one historic package, we delivered the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, and the largest border security investment in American history. And we got no tax on tips. Think of it, no tax on Social Security. We have no tax on overtime. It's just been, there's never been anything like it. And when you explain it, you know, because the Democrats are out there saying death. That's all they're given the word manufactured. They manufactured. The word they use is death. That's the only thing they're good at. That's the only thing. So they have death. And when we get out and sell, it's the opposite. It gives us life. It gives the country life. It gives, you could look at Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. It gives it life. It means it's going to be here. They're going to be here. They wouldn't be here. I don't think we'd have a country. You want to know the truth? If we didn't win this election, I don't think we'd even have a country. But we've achieved more in 6 months than the most administrations have achieved during their 4 years or even 8 years. We've achieved more in 6 months than most administrations have achieved, whether it's 4 years or 8 years, which is pretty incredible.
Okay, that was some of President Trump's speech from the White House East Room. We'll get back to him, a little bit more of his speech on the One Big Beautiful Bill and other things happening in the first 6 months in his administration in just a bit. But first, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you about what we did in the Appropriations Committee. You know, I'm on the Appropriations Committee this year. trying to bring back responsible, reasonable, rational infrastructure projects back to Missouri and the region. But this year, we are looking at ways to cut money in a lot of these programs. Overall, a 2.7% cut in the appropriations of the budget. Basically, we're making a big cut in the National Security Department of State-related programs. These we called state and foreign operations. We're cutting about 22% of that. This is really a critical step towards advancing our message to the world. You know, we've got to be strong first here at home. That's what the America First agenda is all about. And then we can help others be strong and help spread democracy and hope around the world. So really, we're looking at all these programs. USAID, we rebranded those, got rid of all the woke ones, kept a few. Now we're calling those national security investment programs. But we've got to deal with America first. We've got to concentrate on the American taxpayer and make sure that everything we do, we have that first and foremost in mind. We are really championing American leadership in the face of these bad actors all over. We're confronting communist China. We're cutting off the terrorist financiers in Iran. We're standing firm against the evil of Vladimir Putin. And we're really making sure that we still support our greatest ally, Israel, as they fight for their existence in the middle of terror and evil. So this appropriations subcommittee, we got out this week. Hopefully it will hit the floor soon and get this passed. But it really realigns our foreign assistance to make sure that the high-impact programs with the most influence are first and foremost. We have strong accountability and oversight in this as well. We're getting rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse and all the crazy woke programs. And look, America First doesn't mean that America retreats. It means we are strong so that we can help other nations be strong. I had the opportunity to talk about the importance of these programs, in particular PEPFAR, which we'll get into a little bit in this little talk that I did on the subcommittee floor or the full committee floor. Take a listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be brief because I know we have a long day today, but I want to point out some successes in this bill that I think are germane and very important as we move forward. First of all, Mr. Chairman Diaz-Balart, I want to thank you for your hard work on that, and I'm not just trying to ingratiate myself. I really mean this. When I got on this subcommittee, I didn't even know what PEPFAR was. And I have learned over the last couple of months exactly what it is and the 26 million lives that it has saved since 2003. You remember when we got in our subcommittee meeting a couple of months ago, there was a lot of consternation after the testimony from our witnesses about the future of PEPFAR. We were in danger of losing this program. The signature program for President George W. Bush. Our chairman went to bat for this program. He found the money for this program, and this program will exist not forever, but as it was intended to be, a temporary program. We are directing the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to come up with a transition plan and report back to us under our oversight position to transition this all-important program to African nations, to the Global Fund, and to other entities which can carry it forward. I think that is a significant win in this bill. It is a bipartisan win because I know that the members that I have talked with, including the ranking member of this full committee and the ranking member of the subcommittee, have a deep passion for this program, as we all should. So I applaud you, Mr. Diaz-Balart, in saving PEPFAR. USAID, I'm not going to go into all the crazy programs that somehow got wrapped up over the years that we were paying, the American taxpayers were paying for. You sat here and you heard Secretary Marco Rubio enumerate some of these programs. I think the American taxpayer is disgusted that we got to this level where we were paying this type of money for these programs. And yet I've seen some of these programs that actually work And I've enumerated those and spoken about them in the news media and to you, some of you here in this committee. That is the type of soft power, although I don't like that term, that we need to continue. And some of those programs will continue thanks to our chairman, Diaz-Balart. Under a new title, under a new branding, these programs will continue as national security investment programs, mirroring the new name for our subcommittee. Because I think we all have to realize at one point, we are $37 trillion in debt. We've got to put America first, but we also have to consider our influence in the rest of the world. And so by continuing with national security investment programs, we are putting down on paper and putting in our minds and our hearts that it doesn't have to do with national security. We should not be spending taxpayer dollars on it. Lastly, I'd like to say, I had an old preacher back in the 80s, a friend of mine, and he had this familiar saying. He said, "It was always right to do right. It's always wrong to do wrong. It's never right to do wrong, and it's never wrong to do right." I will submit to you here today, my friends on the Appropriations Committee, we are doing the right thing. We are making the cuts necessary to move the ball forward, to keep us afloat as a nation, while securing our place on the world stage and our influence. Let's work together to make that happen. Let's continue to have conversations, not just in this committee room, but outside it, so we can work together to make America first, so we can be the strong power that we need to be for the rest of the nation. With that, I yield back.
Okay, folks, when we come back, we're going to take you back to the White House as we join President Trump for a special congressional event talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill and some of the other accomplishments in the first 6 months of his amazing administration. Stay with us. You're listening to Mark Alford's Capitol Recap. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Mark Alford's Capitol Recap, everyone. We talked about our appropriations work. So much going on in Washington, D.C. We want to take you back now to the White House. This week, we got invited down to the White House in the East Room there, and President Trump spoke for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half about the One Big Beautiful Bill and other success stories in the first 6 months of his administration. We're going to close our program with more from the President of the United States, and here he is.
I mean, took it back in terms of an investment in the country, $5.1 trillion with a T, trillion dollars. And the King of Saudi Arabia looked at me, he says, "You know what? 1 year ago, America was dead. Your country was dead." He said, "And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world." That's a big statement. And that was 2 months ago. But he said, "You went from a dead country," which is pretty hard to hear that. But it's true. I mean, think of it. We had a dead country. We had an embarrassment. All over the world, they were laughing at us like we were a bunch of fools. We had a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country even close to being as hot. And those great representatives of Japan that a few of you, including the speaker, got to see in action, smart and sharp. And they said the same thing. They said, "Look, you have the hottest country in the world." So since I took office, the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, and they just did it again today, have set more than a dozen record highs. Core inflation is way down, below 2%. Think of that. And gas prices are the lowest they've been in many, many years. You know, it's interesting. I watch the Democrats, and they get on these shows. Well, prices are up. Energy is up. Gasoline is through the roof. Food and groceries are up. They lie. One guy even said eggs are up, and we reduced it by about 5 times. Think of it, eggs, because when I first got here, the first week, they hit me. The fake news back there, they hit me. First week, they're screaming at me, "Eggs through the roof. What are you going to do?" I said, "This isn't my problem. This was Biden did this, not Trump." But they were screaming at me. I said, "Just give me a chance." And I will say our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke, did a great job. Brooke Rollins, she did a great job. She's here too. Thank you, Brooke. But think of what we've done. So prices are all down. I don't think there's any price other than we have a real terrible head of the Fed. And if he brought down interest, in Europe, the European Union, they've lowered their interest rate now 11 times, and we haven't lowered ours at all. He's a stiff. He's a knucklehead. And I was very nice to him at the beginning because I know how to sell. And, at a certain point, it didn't matter anymore because the guy is just not a smart person. Shouldn't have been there. And I blame myself in a way for that, but I blame Biden for extending. I was surprised that they extended him, but they did. I think they extended him because they knew how much I couldn't stand him. So they did it for that reason. But and he did lower the rate before the election 2 or 3 times. It's the only time he's really acted like that. But no, he's a bad job. And he's hurting people. He's hurting people that can't get houses because they don't have mortgages. And I don't know if he knows it or not. He's either evil or stupid, and either is really not acceptable. But he's not doing a good job. And but he's only going to be there for a short while. Not going to be there much longer. Our deregulation efforts are saving the typical family thousands and thousands of dollars. So remember, when you're campaigning, got to remember this. Prices are down, groceries are down, oil is down, energy is down, gasoline is, wow. We hit $1.99 a gallon today in 5 different states. And now in California, he keeps adding taxes, when you go to $7, $8, but I mean, they just keep putting taxes on gasoline. It's crazy. I think you ought to take a look at that, Doug. It's ridiculous what he's doing out there. And he's really hurting people a lot. But we have, in free market, we have gasoline that's getting down to the low 2s, and in some cases even breaking that. I think you're going to end up breaking it if Doug does his job with Chris. You're going to be drill, baby, drill, right, Doug? That's Doug. He really took that theme to heart. He's going wild, actually. And we'll fill up the strategic reserves. They use these are massive cavities in Earth that you wouldn't believe how big, and they took the oil out that we put in. We put in a lot at good prices, and they took it out before the election. And it didn't really amount to that much for cars. It didn't last that long, actually, because that's as big as those cavities. We call them cavities, or caves. They're incredible salt. They're salt mines, and they have almost an unlimited capacity, but it is limited. And they were just about filled up to the top. And for the election, they started emptying it. It wasn't meant for that. It really meant for a military emergency. It wasn't meant to keep prices down so that somebody can win an election, but obviously that didn't work. And the blue-collar workers have already seen their largest real wage increase in 60 years, another thing you can say. But the biggest thing you can say, and I told Mike today, I said, Mike, there's one thing where I don't believe we can lose. So at the end of my first term, I was so proud of myself because I worked very hard, and pharmaceuticals, drug prices, went down for the first time in 28 years. Think of that. First time in 28 years they went down. You know what they went down? 1/4 of 1 point. Little much. The line was almost straight. It was like key, but it went down. First time in many years, 28, I think. And I was so proud, I called a news conference to announce that drug prices have gone down for the first time in many years. And I thought it was great, but then I did something much better. And this is what you have to run on. I said to the speaker today, I said, the one thing I'm going to bring up tonight, because we have so many of the congressmen and women in the room, but the one thing I'm going to bring up is what we did we call it favored nations. But so we're going to have the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. We'll be tied for the lowest drug price, essentially, anywhere in the world. And you can win your election. I don't care where you come from. That helps everybody. There's no other point, I think, that can, what do you think, Mary? Do you agree? Okay, I agree, too. It's an amazing thing. And nobody thought that was even possible. So we've negotiated historic trade deals with the United Kingdom, Indonesia, China, today Japan and the Philippines. We just did the Philippines today also. A good deal. We have stopped wars between India and Pakistan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda. That was going on for 30 years. And by the way, India-Pakistan was probably going to end up in a nuclear war if they kept, they shot down 5 planes in the last attack. And it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I called them and I said, listen, no more trade. If you do this, you're not going to be good. But they're both powerful nuclear nations. And that would have happened. And who knows where that would have ended up. And I stopped it. Iran, you saw, we took out their entire capability of nuclear. Kosovo and Serbia, we stopped that. And we do that on the House as compliments of America, okay? Do you think Biden would do that? I don't think so. Do you think he ever heard of any of those countries? I don't think so.
Well, there you have it. The President of the United States. It is going to be one heck of an August. Remember, we are going to have our town hall tour just in a few weeks. And check out our website, alford.house.gov, for our complete schedule of 16 stops in the district. Looking forward to coming back and working in the district, working for you. Once again, I'm honored to be your voice and your vote in Washington. And remember, I believe in you. I believe in America, and I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. Live from the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, I'm Mark Alford with a Capitol Recap. Good day, and God bless.